Hi there. It's the day after Labor Day. In this video, I'm going to go over a bunch of different stuff. Um, Gonna talk about finishing installing the wiring harness on the Travelall. I sanded the roof on the Travelall, so I'll talk about going back over the work I did last year and cleaning that stuff up. So I sprayed primer on the roof of the Travelall, sanded that down with 1500 grit, and got it ready for a first coat of bright white paint. Shot that, wet sanded that down with 1500 grit, and prepped it for a second coat with the remainder of my paint, which came out pretty good. I'll go through that. I had the rear driver's window gasket installed, so I pulled the rear glass out of the back, cut the gasket out of that because it was original to the truck, had a new gasket installed. I'll go over that. And then additionally, I started doing some investigative work on the Scout to try to figure out where the oil stains are coming from underneath. So I drained out the transmission case. I'll talk about that as well. Right now I'm cleaning up this outer harness. I got rid of a couple of splices in this particular connector. They were down here. I think they were probably sending wires up to stuff that was sitting here on the fenders. But right now I'm going to clean this particular connector up. I don't know what this one is. I've got to see if I can find the number, but this one is bad, so I'm going to splice this together and heat shrink it and get it cleaned up, and then start buttoning this whole thing back up, I think. So in fooling around with the wiring, I cleaned up a bunch of the wiring here, put some new splices in, and now my turn signals do not work anymore. And then in trying to get this top section off, I pulled this and the whole thing pulled out. So it was never really in there very well to begin with. So I'm a little frustrated at that situation. I did put in a new choke cable, so that's good and working. I tore out the old throttle cable. That's gone, which is nice. Not a whole lot of other major updates. The front seat is now in. Now that I've got to get back underneath the dash and fix that again, but I need to start moving along, making more room in the back for storage for the wintertime. And tomorrow I'm going to get started on the roof. Here I am back out at the truck again. I'm going to try to get this stupid connector back in place again. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but we'll see. You can see I've got the lights on here now, so I can stay out here a little bit longer. But yeah, let's give this a shot and see what we can do. The other thing I'm going to try to figure out is what these two wires are for and if they have any bearing on why my lights aren't lighting anymore. Fix one thing and 5 things break. Good times. I'm currently sitting on the carburetor. I'm on the engine, but I've got this thing in. It went in, I think it went in correctly this time. I think I had it angled the wrong way. It was angled up a little bit before. I think it's in the right way. I've wiggled it to the point where it looks like it's in. Used a fair bit of soap and some screwdrivers and just worked it all the way around and got it in. Pain in the ass, but let's get it hooked up now and see if everything works correctly. So the two lines that I spliced were in this connector here on the bottom part. And the two that I spliced were 21 and 12. 12 goes over here to, where was it? The key switch. 12 is right here on the key switch. So that's switched power. 21 goes through the fuse block and back to the tail lights, the rear tail light. Looks like both sides. So it could be that I did something to that and it's not connected again. I mean, they're lighting, but they're not. I'm not getting any flashers. I've now reconnected everything, so I'm going to hook everything back up. I'm going to hook power back up and see if it works again, but I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. So let's hook power up. So again, I'm not getting flashers. Where I had success a couple of days ago, I'm not getting success now, and I'm not entirely sure why. Yeah, fronts and rears work, lights work, but no flashers. So clearly I did something. Um, Darn it. I wish I knew what that was. Headlights are working. That's just for giggles. All right, so yeah, that's still not working, and I don't know why. It sounds like the horn is shorting out. That's really disappointing. Wish I could tell what that was all about. I did some preliminary sanding this evening just to see where I was going to go. It's actually, what time is it? It's 9:15. These later than I normally would, which is good because it's getting darker, but I'm going to have to do some rust remediation because I let this stay out too long, so there's a little bit of rust peeking through in some places, but overall I think we're in pretty good shape. I got to fill that little hole tomorrow. You can see up in the top here, there's a couple of places where it really did burn through, so I'll do some cleanup on that, and I got to do it around the drip rails as well because the drip rails are really bad again. But once I get that done, we'll get some primer down. The primer is supposed to be here tomorrow, maybe, and I've also got a gun showing up, so maybe I can shoot something this weekend. We'll see how it goes. At least if I could get some primer down and get it prepped for final paint, I'd be really happy. I'm back out in the driveway on the Travelall. This is actually 2 weeks after I started this video. I haven't done a posting because I was out of town this past week, but I got a little bit of stuff done yesterday. Today is Saturday. I had yesterday off. So some of the things I did yesterday were to finally get the bulkhead connector into place. After 2 tries, that's in. But when I finished that, I actually messed up some of the splices. I took some of the splices out and basically cleaned the wiring up on the engine side of the bulkhead. And something happened and I lost my turn signals again. Yay. So I got to figure that out. Put the bench seat back in place and started working on the roof. And so today is going to be prepping the roof. I've got paint showing up, primer and paint showing up, and a gun that's going to be showing up today. And so I want to get that whole thing prepped and ready so I can start shooting some paint maybe this weekend. We'll see. It's going to be really nice weather and I want to try to take advantage of it. Updates. I've ground out all of the drip rails and put rust converter through everything. They were catching water and a little bit nasty, so they've all been treated again. I've ground out and filled in all of the sections of rust that were in the roof that had basically gone through, ground all that stuff out, hit it with rust converter, and then patched it over again, patched this hole in the back, and basically tried to clean up as much of this roof as I can. I'm going to hit it again once this stuff is ready to go. I've got to basically knock down all of the putty and clean all that stuff up. There's a couple more places there that I've got to hit with putty. I'm just going to go over everything and see where all the hot spots are and clean it up. And then I'm going to go out and get some supplies and come back. I just got back from Home Depot and picked up a couple of supplies for, hopefully, for painting. I got some thick paper for throwing down on the ground around the truck, a whole bunch of plastic sheeting, some tape, like you normally would. Big thing is I got a good mask for spraying because I don't have one, or at least the one that I have is probably very old. I've got some coupler sets for my compressor because I'm putting a new water filter on that, and then I got a bunch of stainless stuff for a couple of the finished pieces on the truck. I'm going to do that now. And then I've got some black primer for a guide coat, and some mixing quart jugs here, and some sticks to do stuff up with when the paint finally comes. Paint should be here later this afternoon. Maybe I could spray some primer on tomorrow. We'll have to see how things go, but let's get back to the action. Here's the 420 update. I'm just taking a break, trying to get off the ladder because I've been jumping on and off ladders for a while. I'm just hitting this section here and the one on the other side with some red paint. It's been primer for forever and I just want to get it covered. I'm going to go back and clean it up later, but I just want to try to get some of this stuff covered. It's been primer for way too long. There's a bunch of other stuff down here that needs to get cleaned up. I'm going to do that later. I'm not going to worry about it right now. A lot of the roof is actually done. I'm waiting for a couple of small spots, small extra patches. I found a couple of rust poke holes. I just wanted to hit those before I finish this thing up. But like that whole side over there and here is pretty good. I think this side is probably ready to go. I want to hit it with some even finer sandpaper. But I want to get this side done first, and then I want to go over the whole thing and just clean it all up. It's just some little spots here and there. This is the hole in the back. It was just a little bit of a depression, so I got that. Those 4 holes there. And the other thing I did was filled in the entire drip rail with rust stop. So now that's got converter and then rust stop on top of it. And then I'll spray it one more time, and then that'll get painted. So hopefully this will get cleaned up good. I'm stalled with stuff I can do on the roof, the stuff I've got up on the roof. The hardener isn't hardening as fast as I would like it to. So I've just been cleaning up around the windows. I've got to hit this corner here, but I did a whole bunch of work on this side, up top there and down below. I actually hit this when I pulled this window out. I did it really fast and wasn't really able to address. I was able to get the lip, but not the sections down here. So I just cleaned all this stuff up and, you know, sprayed it with some rattle can. Same on this door. This is some body filler. I have to actually smooth that out when it dries. I did a little bit of work on this door. You can see the clear coat is garbage, but it actually had a dent here that went all the way down and was pulling out, and there was rusty metal behind that. And down there they dinged it against something. You can see the sort of dent there. So I wanted to clean that up. I also hit on the other side. There was an area by the door here, and this fender, I just did that. I mean, I'm basically stalled up top. I can't do anything. This, as I mentioned before, this hardener here and there, you can see that I actually tried to sand it and it gummed up. So there's a bunch of sections over there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this one here. I can't do anything with that. So I'm sort of waiting. So I'm just going to continue hitting, you know, the body work that I can. I'm out here, the bodywork stuff is here, so why not? The other thing that I'm doing is I'm cleaning up the hood. I'm stalled because I can't do anything else right now. So, and there's been a whole bunch of stuff on the hood that really needed to get addressed. So I'm taking down all of this stuff, cleaning it up. I'm going to putty this up, or, you know, put some body fill in here, just sort of smooth it out. There's a bunch of it here. The worst of it is up this section here. It's been bugging me for a long time, and I just want to get it cleaned up and get it addressed. So I'm going to mix up some more body filler and get this ready to clean up now. I've got filler on all of the big sections of this thing now. This one huge section is covered. I ground this out down to bare metal. Interesting thing to look at is the nose of this thing is thinner. The paint on this is thinner than it is on the rest of the truck, so I don't think this nose is original to the truck. It must have been replaced at one point. It's not in great shape, but it's only got one coat of paint. I wish to God this whole truck only had one coat of paint on it, because it would be making my life much easier. But it's got a very thick coat of white paint and then another thick coat of red paint. So anything I do is basically, it's like an archaeological dig. I can go down through the months, or I can go through the decades as I basically sand this thing. Good morning. It's Sunday. I'm back out working on the truck. I've got a bunch of things in from TCP Global last night. A new HVLP gun with a regulator. I've got a can of acrylic enamel pure white, which is really cool. And then these are the old things that I got with my can of International Red. So I'm going to use the hardener in this enamel when I finally spray it. But this is primer, so I'll use this to prime the whole top of the thing. Looking back on the top of the truck, I actually had to scrape the putty off of those sections because it had not hardened. I hadn't put enough of hardener in it, so that's all scraped off, sanded, and reapplied. Same here. And I've gone up through the front of the truck. I hit that again. And I've sanded and primed all of these sections here. So let those dry, finish sand them, and then hit them with International Red and clean them all up. I think they look pretty good, nice and smooth. So it's good to have that stuff covered up and sealed. And that will do it for right now. I'm just going to wait for that putty on the top there, the filler on the top to finish, and then I can get to work on that. Well, I'm also going to cover these sections too. I'll get those right now. It'll be good to have all that cleaned up. And then you can see here, this is the stuff I hit yesterday. Just cleaned that whole edge up and the top edge there. I'm going to hit this one more time with red, and then I'll peel the tape off. So yeah, slow progress, but I'm hoping to make some larger progress later today. I had ordered a set of drywall stilts so I could just walk around the thing and spray it, but they're not going to be here until I think Tuesday. So I might try to just spray this primer myself, and we'll see how it goes. I've been working so hard I haven't really made any updates, video updates, but here is where we are at the primer on the roof of this thing, and just get it on here. I feel like if I sand anymore, I'm just going to keep sanding and sanding and sanding, and I've got to get some progress going. I've got to get this thing covered up. So I've got it taped. I've got plastic up on the front. I'm just going to weigh that down a little bit more, and I've got the neighbor's house basically tarped off there. I'm going to hit this entire thing with a tack cloth and just make sure that it's ready to go, and put a little bit of lacquer thinner through my gun, and then mix up some paint and give this thing a try. Here is the 6 o'clock update. I've got one coat of primer from the gun on the top of the truck. I think it went on relatively well for the complete ghetto way that I did everything. I had to move a ladder around, I had to do a lot of running around and everything, and that really kind of sucked. Should have mixed a little bit more primer, but that's fine. I'll let this cure and sit and come back to it in a couple of days and give it a good sand down and clean it up, and then get it prepped for white paint. Maybe it'll happen next weekend. We'll see. I have to see what the weather looks like. But I learned a bunch of things in doing this. Luckily, I've had a lot of experience running a paint gun for latex paint. I painted my entire house with a latex gun from Home Depot. It was like a $40 latex gun. This is a gun that I got, I think I said, from TCP Global. Worked out really good. I got a really nice spray pattern from it. Do I need to dial it in some more? Yes. Do I need to prep a lot more before I do this? Yes. I had to do a bit of running and gunning while I was working on this, but I learned a bunch of things about the spray pattern and stuff, and I think when I get a set of drywall stilts, which is what I've got coming. They were supposed to be here today, but they didn't, actually yesterday, but they didn't show up. When I get the drywall stilts, I'll be able to basically just walk around and spray the whole thing instead of having to stop and move the ladder and stop and move the ladder and all that kind of garbage, which was just a pain in the butt. So yeah, next up is to let this cure, let it sit and cure for a couple of days, and then sand the crap out of it and get it prepped for the white, and then I'll go from there. But overall, I would say pretty successful for my first shot at shooting automotive paint. One thing I did, I looked at a bunch of different advice online, and one of the things that I was told was to get a 3/8 hose for spraying, and I did that, and it worked out really well, except for the fact that now I've got to wind all this up. I am going to have to invest in a hose winder and just put it up in my garage, because this is a disaster. This is actually worse than my old green hose. But yeah, this was worth the money. I got a 50-foot length, and it worked out great. Monday night, it's about 8 o'clock. I've prepped the whole top of this thing. It's sanded down with, I think it's 500 grit. It's really nice and smooth. This whole thing is ready for white paint tomorrow. It rained tonight, and I lowered the top on this thing, let it dry out, and then hit the whole thing. Pretty happy with the way the whole thing turned out. I think it's going to cover pretty well. So I'm going to tack cloth it tomorrow and get the gun ready and spray it in white as soon as I'm done from work. So pretty happy with this. This is the first coat of bright white. Went on pretty smoothly. I can see some lines. I'm going to wait for it to dry and see what happens. I may have to shoot another coat on the center section later. We'll have to see. But overall, all things being equal, this went really pretty well. I'm going to go in and get some dinner and let it cure and flash. I think it's flashed, but I'm not going to touch it for a while. I'm going to wait for like an hour for this to do its thing, and then I'll come back and take a look at it. But overall, pretty happy with it. I can see some of the divots where I have had to fill things in, but you know what? Just to have this thing painted is fine by me. I'm happy enough by that, and I'm happy enough by the fact that it's not rusted along the edge here and all that kind of garbage. I think it looks pretty good for my ghetto garage. So I'm going to call this a win for the evening. I've got somebody coming tomorrow to replace the gasket on the driver's side rear window, so I'm going to take it out tonight. I've already cut out a bunch of the gasket. I'm just waiting for my wife to come out and give me a hand. Looking at all this metal, it looks almost brand new. I mean, it's dirty, but I look at the edges and I don't see any rust on here at all. I am quietly shocked about that. So she's going to come out, she's going to sit inside and hold this thing, and then we're going to pull it out. Part one is complete. Windows out in one piece. Looks really good. This weather stripping is old and brittle, but that was to be expected. Look at the condition of this metal. A little bit of rust right there. I think there's like a little bit of pinning right there, but as I go around this edge, this whole edge all the way around is as clean as a whistle. I can't believe what kind of shape this thing is in. I'm going to get out the wheel and just clean this up and clean this area up really quick while I've got all the stuff off, but if that's all I got to do to this side, I am thrilled. So yeah, let's get on that now before it gets any darker. So here's the evening update on the rear window. New rubber is in. Glass is in great shape. Nothing happened. Same delamination is there, but you know, that's what it is. Went in super easy. The back actually popped in a lot faster than this side did, which is the exact opposite of how the last one went in, but you know, I don't care. It seemed to go in pretty easy. The guy that I had it that did it for me is the same guy that did the other one, so I just called him back. Super cool. And yeah, it took us maybe, I would say, an hour to get the thing in total. So another step along the way. It's now Sunday, the day before Labor Day. I've just wet sanded down the hood or the roof of this thing with 1,000 grain and 1,500 grain sandpaper in preparation for the second coat. There are some imperfections there, here and there, but what I'm going to do is focus on the center line and come out on each side. I'm just feathering out the edges here, and I just want to get one more coat down with the remainder of my white paint, clean it up, and call it good. And then this part of the project will be over. So what I'm going to do now is retape the sides and the back. I'll probably fart around with some stuff inside the truck before I do that. That'll probably be the last thing, and then tomorrow I'm gonna hopefully shoot it. The ghetto tent is tarped off. I am gonna mix up some paint and spray this sucker out today. Let's get this done. It's Labor Day and I'm laboring on the truck. I've got the top section top of the roof is actually done. It's actually sprayed again, so it's got 2 coats of white on it. It's looking pretty good, I think. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Could be maybe a little bit smoother, but you know, it's going to be what it's going to be for being under my janky tent. I have spent a bunch of time doing other things in here. I spent a bunch of time, I was really tired yesterday, so I want to sanding out and covering up this section of the fender and that section down there, just doing a bunch of little tiny touch-ups just to cover up some of the steel, because some of the steel was looking pretty bad. I did a little bit over here. This door, it's not going to win any awards, but it's at least covering up the rust. And today, after I was waiting for the paint to dry and everything, I spent a bunch of time cleaning up the paint on the inside here. The whole interior was covered in some kind of adhesive that they used to spray on to put in the carpeting or the whatever the insulation was when they converted this thing over to a camper, and it was really disgusting. So I wound up sanding a bunch of it out. I've got to actually sand the top part of it out here next, but this is 320 grit paper, then 1000 grit paper, then 1500 grit paper, and these are some sections that I've sprayed over because they had a bunch of holes that I smoothed out so these don't catch on your clothes anymore. Did the same thing for the wheel well. Just trying to clean this thing up. It's going to be beat up, but at least it's not junky, like completely junky as it was before. I went up the side here. So just keeping myself busy. I am still recovering from working at my father-in-law's place, so I'm not going full speed today, but I'm going to try to get back out here. The other thing I hit yesterday was I redid the splice down here to actually both of these connectors, and was able to get my marker lights back. My marker lights had completely disappeared, but I got those back, but I'm still not getting turn signals. So I'm wondering if that is due to this splice. I don't think it is, because this is the only other thing that I fixed when I was working on this whole section. I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there, but I still have lost my turn signals, and I haven't been able to get them back. So I'm pivoting to the Scout right now. What I did this afternoon was pull the transfer cover case and drain out the transmission. It's got 50 weight race oil in the transmission. That's what I run in this thing. So I drained that out. I did not stop to measure how much came out, because it should take about 3.5 quarts of 50 weight racing oil. I drained it out. It drained out relatively clear, but I'm going to venture a guess and say that it was less than 2.5 quarts. Anyway, I'm putting 2.5 quarts back in. I only had 2 quarts on me, so I'm waiting for Amazon to come. So I'm just going to basically sort of put the cover back in place and button things up and wait until Wednesday, which is when it's going to come. You can see under here, and it's going to be pretty dark. Transmission is right here. This is the drain plug. The fill plug is up there. And it's actually a pump kit that you put on quart bottles of oil that basically you can just pump it. So what I do is I go in from the top and I run a hose down from the top and basically pump it in that way. Something that I can't wait to put on this thing when it's ready are all 6 of these. I've got 6 of these quick and easy things I got off of eBay. I got them for cheap because they were all screwed up, and I fixed them all, so they should be ready to go. I can't wait to get a roof rack on this thing. It's going to look really sweet. Here's the 7 o'clock wrap up for the evening. Paint went on really well. It's all dry. I think it's pretty smooth for what I did. Would I like for it to be smoother? I think probably yes, but I'll take what I can get here. It's covered over all of the sanding stuff that I did yesterday, so I'm pretty happy with that. I am now out of the white paint, so if I want to do this again, I have to buy another can, but I'll deal with that next year. I don't think I'm going to deal with that this year. I'm pretty happy with this. I think it looks pretty good. The drip rails all went in smooth, and it all looks really clean, so I'm going to call this particular project done. The front taped up really well. I think it looks really nice. So yeah, we're going to call this one done. Again, looking on the inside, here's another shot of the inside from the passenger side door. Just how I cleaned up that whole edge. There's a lot more work that has to be done. I've got to figure out if I'm going to try to spray this when I get the red. I've got a can of actually IH red. Do I spray this, tape it off and really good and spray it, or what do I do? I'm not really sure yet. That'll have to get some seam sealer and some other stuff. There's repairs that need to be done in here, but I'm sort of slowly moving to the end of the outside stuff this year and working my way back to the inside stuff. So there's the wrap up for Labor Day. I think we are done with painting, so I think I can start breaking down some of the paint tent here and clean that stuff up, make things look a little bit better. I am going to be moving on to the Scout next. I've got to figure out what's going on with the transmission and the other stuff, and that's going to take some time to sort out. I've got more oil coming this week, so I can put that in. The weather's supposed to be nice, so I can fill that up for the rest of the way and then take her out for a couple of test drives and see how she does. I'm really anxious to get her back on the road and get her running again. So yeah, I think next week is going to be buttoning up the last of the exterior stuff on the Travelall here. I really want to work out the wiring issues, see why the blinkers aren't working, see if I can figure that out, and continue with that troubleshooting stuff, and then move on from there. So that'll do it for this week. I will see you guys next week. If you've made it this far in the video, you might be interested in some merch I've got for sale on threadless.com to keep this project going. I'll put a link down below in the description. Thanks for watching.